Good morning, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today is Friday, September 17th, and the moon is in Aquarius all day. Of course, Aquarius is a moon where we tend to be a little less emotional. We're actually able to keep our feelings somewhat at an arm's length. The energy of Aquarius is mental, it's objective, it's big picture. And so it's almost as if when the moon is in Aquarius, we can consider things in their larger perspective, in their interactions as people interact with other people within a society. So today we have two aspects I want to talk about. One is a square between Saturn and Venus. We actually talked about this yesterday a bit. This is a last quarter crisis in consciousness square. It is all squares cause us to take to react, to respond, to act, to get things moving. Last quarter squares tend to do that, but the reason for it is more revolutionary than, say, the first quarter square, where the reason is more fear-based, because you're afraid that if you don't do something, you won't survive. But this last quarter square is more of a feeling like if things don't change, you're not going to survive. So we have that. And of course, here in the United States, we have a woman's right to choose to do with her body what she pleases, having it be her decision. Of course, that's always a really tense and basic in its way conversation that we have. Many people vote simply on that. You're Republican because you're anti-abortion, and you're a Democrat because you're pro-choice. Not everybody, it's not that simplistic, but it does come down to sort of a very basic idea of what your rights are. And of course, we're also here in the United States dealing with voters' rights, but it seems that the voters' rights that they're concerned with are people who are not, we'll just say people who aren't white, right? We'll just call it what it is. So it comes down to these really basic questions about what we value, what's important to us, what's fair, what is going to create a more perfect union. It's an old story, and you might wonder, didn't we settle all this? Well, we've certainly been through all of this. As to whether it's settled, as to whether it's ever settled, is another question. But we have to keep in mind that, which is what came to me this morning when I was pondering this, and what I wanted to talk to you about, is we are moving into a new, in this country anyway, in the United States, and I think worldwide, we're moving into a new consciousness. And whenever there seems to be an expansion of communication, when we see what's out there, we tend to pull in and come from a place of perhaps fear and distrust, or for some people, the opposite, like, no, let's let everybody in. So it's this balance between really constriction and expansion. And it's a natural balance. It just manifests itself in whatever happens to be the major thing in that particular country. We've had the North Node moving through Gemini, and the South Node, of course, opposite, moving through Sagittarius, requiring us to look at things as they are, in the moment. Gemini, what are the facts at hand, in the now, in the immediate moment? What do we see? Versus, what do we believe? What do we think we see? What have we seen in the past? You know, the South Node in Sagittarius is about beliefs that come from the past. And of course, one of the basic beliefs, at least here in the United States, that this country was pretty much built on is that we have the right to hold down people who don't look like us, whether it's Native Americans or black people coming off slave ships, or Italians coming in the 1800s, or Irish coming in after the potato famine. They're all skinny and smelly and poor, and who are these things, you know, in our streets. It's an old story. It's an old story. But we do have the consciousness to know that, and I think Uranus and Taurus is teaching us quite the lesson, that we have to work together with all this climate change stuff. And you know, it's almost as if Mother Nature's like, all right, kids, you've had your fun. Now you're going to work together, or I'm going to just wipe you and we'll start again. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. So how do we deal with this? Well, we deal with this by really examining ourselves and our nature, and fostering those parts of our nature that bring us together and unite us. So it doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter who they voted for. It does matter if they hurt somebody. That does matter. But how they think and who they vote for and kind of what they want to do with their body is actually nobody else's business but their own. But that assuming they're getting good information, of course. And there's always going to be people who take the side that doesn't necessarily help the people, but helps themselves. So we have this help yourself, God's helped them who help themselves, or I'm going to help myself to everything. And, you know, God is love, and we're all a piece of God, and we're all part of God, and all of that. So these are kind of the themes, really, that we find ourselves working with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in those words, but that's the energy. And we are expanding, and we are raising in consciousness. And that is going to require us to work together. It's going to require us to work together, because as we move up in energy and consciousness, the boundaries that keep us apart are going to dissolve. They're going to dissolve. And so the natural course of things is to connect. And we're connecting on a sort of social level on the internet with Facebook and the phones that are connecting us. And for a lot of people, they don't know who they are to start with. They connect with people, they connect with ideas, they connect with groups. And you know, we're going to have Pluto in Aquarius soon enough. And as we know, when Pluto moves through a sign, the shadow of that sign comes up, as we are experiencing Pluto in Capricorn right now, with all this need to control. So when we get into the Pluto in Aquarius energy, the shadow of Aquarius, which is elitism and groupism and cliquishness and separation via group, you know, this isn't going anywhere, is what I'm trying to say. The other thing that's happening late here, it's actually happening in the morning on this coast, but for a lot of people it's happening at the end of the day, is an inconjunct between Neptune and Mercury. And of course Mercury is in Libra right now, and Neptune, of course, is in Pisces, as it's been since 2011. And this requires us to make adjustments in how we think, how idealistic we are. Perhaps we need a dose of reality. I mean, I certainly have a very idealistic and in its way utopian view of what life could be. But I also know that that's not everybody's point of view or everybody's idea of it. So There are going to be times when I have to make adjustments in my point of view. There are times when I'm going to have to make concessions. And I think we all have to do that. You know, part of living with other people is making concessions and caring enough about the person to be able to disagree with them on another level, right? So, interesting ponderings and meanderings. This morning, I actually went on a date with my husband last night. I don't even know if we did, quite frankly, when we were dating, that we actually dated. We were much more inclined to just like to spend time together, which we still do, but usually just like doing our thing, right? Not necessarily connected to a third thing. But we actually went, now this is interesting, we actually went to a concert that is given by a, and I honestly don't know the name of the band, and I apologize for that. But from Russia, who does covers of Chicago. They were fabulous, let me tell you. And the thing that I loved was, you know, we're in like we were in Lowell. I don't know if anybody, Lowell was the first city I think in the United States to become an industrialized city. I think it has 3 rivers running through it. So, and Lowell is still a pretty vibrant place, but kind of run down and like most post-industrial, post-industrial American cities, has its challenges, has its crime. A lot of immigrants, which doesn't mean that there's the immigrants bring crime. It just means that that's where they can afford to live, right? But here we were in the city that was like the first city in the industrial, revolution, as it were, listening to a band that sang music from Chicago, which is in the middle of the country, from Russia. And I thought to myself, and they said, spreading peace through music. And I thought, frig, exactly right. Like, let's get together and do the things that bring us joy together, even if we don't agree on certain things, right? So I thought, and then I heard, I think it was Braca, Goldsmith, and Pam Gregory. And I think this is one of these people mentioned it. And if not, I don't know where I heard it, honestly, but peace through astrology. Because, and it might have even been one of my students who said it, but what astrology does for people is it helps them understand each other. It helps us understand that people are people and they're expressing different aspects of archetypes. It really does give us a perspective that we don't get, I think, from any other form of study. Maybe numerology, the metaphysical stuff, Kabbalah, yes, but there's just something about astrology that proves that we are all one, and proves that we have times when we express certain energies, and then how do we react and respond to those energies, and then how do we evolve through those energies. So I want to put it out there. I'm thinking of starting another beginner's astrology class. I have a group of students that are more advanced. I'll be starting those classes again soon. I know I promised them September, but September has seemed to jump upon me. And here I am in the middle of it, and I still haven't started that class. So for my students who have taken my beginner's classes, I am going to start another series of classes. I'm going to have my Saturday class and probably a Thursday class for my other students, and then opening a beginner's class probably on Wednesday evenings or Monday evenings, East Coast time. So I will keep you all abreast of that situation. Look, if you're interested, comment below or contact me. There's a link below as to how to get a hold of me online. I keep the classes very reasonable. They're 6 weeks long, and they're a lot of fun, and you actually end up making some pretty cool friends who end up knowing you better than most people in your life because they're looking at your chart. Hello? All right, guys, have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe. Much love to you all. It's Friday. Enjoy it. I intend to enjoy it. Take care.